Vulkan, among the Emperor's 20 Primarchs, led the Salamander's Legion, named in his honor. His distinct trait was immortality, as a perpetual, enabling full regeneration from any harm, even obliteration. When the Primarchs were scattered from the Emperor's sanctuary, Vulkan arrived on Nocturne. The planet Nocturne was a harsh world due to the erratic dance of the oversized moon Prometheus, inflicting tremendous tectonic strain upon it. The land is scarred by vast chains of volcanoes and frequent earthquakes. Bathed in intense stellar radiation, life on Nocturne bears a dark, obsidian-like hue, mirroring the world's rugged and unforgiving terrain. Vulkan was taken in by the blacksmith, Enbel, and was named after the legendary Salamander King. Vulkan grew swiftly under Enbel's care. Within 3 years, he surpassed all in strength, size, and skill, and began sharing forgotten forging techniques with his kin. Frequent raids by Dark Eldar plagued the people of Nocturne, each individual crafting their own refuge to evade capture. When the Dark Eldar descended once more during Vulkan's 4th year on the planet, the Primarch defied convention, standing resolutely in the heart of the settlement, with his smithing hammers poised. Inspired by his courage, the townsfolk rallied behind him. With the Primarch leading the charge, they vanquished the Dark Eldar decisively, with Vulkan himself dispatching 100 foes. Soon after, leaders from the 7 largest towns journeyed to meet Vulkan, pledging never again to cower from the raiders. Amidst the revelry following the Primarch's triumph over the Eldar raiders, a tournament was decreed to commemorate the occasion. In a twist of fate, a mysterious stranger emerged. Vulkan and the stranger wagered their fates on the tournament's outcome. Over the span of 8 arduous days, the contest unfolded, challenging the contestants in various tests of strength and endurance. Notable among them was the legendary anvil lift, where both participants held anvils aloft for hours until the contest was declared a draw. Yet, as the 8th day ended, Vulkan and the stranger found themselves evenly matched. In the climactic finale, both contestants crafted weapons and sought out mighty salamanders. Vulkan swiftly felled a fire drake, but faced peril as the volcano erupted beneath him. Clinging to the drake's tail, his strength waned until the stranger arrived, sacrificing his own drake. The stranger rescued Vulkan and revealed himself as the Emperor. Thus, Primarch and Emperor were reunited, their bond forged in sacrifice. Following this, Vulkan began to take part in the Emperor's Great Crusade, where many things shaped the Primarch for the future. Initially, Vulkan remained alongside the Emperor, fighting by his side, before reuniting with his legion, leading them to victory against a massive orc horde. Renaming his legion the Salamanders, Vulkan continued to serve faithfully throughout the Great Crusade. During the reconquest of Karatan, alongside the Night Lords and Mechanicum forces, Vulkan clashed with Conrad Kurz over the Night Lords' brutal tactics. This confrontation led to a heated argument between the 2 Primarchs. After reporting Kurz's actions to Warmaster Horus and Primarch Dawn, Vulkan's rage escalated during the battle against Karatan's ruling Eldar Coven, resulting in the death of a surrendering Eldar child. This incident would haunt the Primarch deeply. On the world of 1544, Vulkan encountered primitive humans alongside Exodite Eldar, who resisted Imperial presence. Guided by a mysterious remembrancer, revealed as a psychic projection of the Emperor, Vulkan discovered a grim scene, a tribe preparing to sacrifice a Dark Eldar woman to stave off their return. Recognizing her as a foe from his past, and the humans as descendants of Nocturne's captives, Vulkan realized the Emperor had guided him here, and understood that these humans would never accept the Imperium over their Eldar liberators. Vulkan ordered the planet cleansed, eradicating any semblance of coexistence. During the Horus Heresy, Vulkan was further shaped by the trials that he would face. At the Istavan V Dropsite Massacre, Vulkan fought alongside Ferrus Manus and Korax. Facing nuclear missiles from the Iron Warriors, most of the Salamander's legion perished, but Vulkan had received the genetic gift of being a perpetual from the Emperor, and his regenerative abilities allowed him to survive. Captured by Conrad Kurz, Vulkan endured relentless torment as Kurz attempted to break his spirit. Despite countless deaths and trials, Vulkan remained resilient. In a final duel, Vulkan overpowered Kurz and activated a teleporter within his hammer, transporting himself to the upper atmosphere of Macragge, where he burnt up during re-entry. Recovered by the Ultramarines, Vulkan's charred body puzzled his rescuers until he began to regenerate, shocking the apothecaries. Summoned, Gulliman found Vulkan mentally broken, attacking indiscriminately. Unbeknownst to all, Vulkan and Kurz shared a bond, allowing Vulkan to sense the Night Haunter's presence. Fueled by newfound regeneration, Vulkan pursued him relentlessly. Their battle raged across the city, with Vulkan's resilience defying death itself. Their duel halted by John Grammaticus, tasked by the Cabal to end Vulkan's life with the Fulgurite, a weapon of immense power. Eldrad Orthran intervened, persuading Grammaticus to sacrifice himself to restore Vulkan's sanity. Grammaticus, aware of the consequences, ended both their lives in a psychic explosion, leaving Vulkan unrecovered. Reclaimed by Primarchs Gulliman, Lion L. Johnson, and Sanguinius, Vulkan's body rested in a stasis capsule, inscribed with unbound flame, crafted by Gulliman himself. The few remaining salamanders stood guard over their fallen Primarch on Macragge. An expedition led by Artellus Numion returned Vulkan's body to Nocturne. With Numion's ultimate sacrifice, Vulkan was restored from the unbound flame at Mount Deathfire, fulfilling the salamander's conviction in his resurrection. Resurrected, but with fragmented memory, Vulkan encountered an old man within Mount Deathfire, who guided him to two mysterious artifacts, the Thunder Hammer, Uldrakul, and the Talisman of Seven Hammers. Upon awakening outside the mountain, Vulkan formed a new group, the Drake's Ward, and, using the talisman, opened a webway portal beneath Nocturne. Their journey through the webway led them to Kalmorag, where they clashed with the Dark Eldar, and then to Shadrach Medusan's fleet, embroiled in conflict. There, Vulkan encountered the false Ferrus Manus. Disheartened by the deception, he destroyed it. Refusing to partake in the war, Vulkan departed for Caldera, where Eldars directed him to a new webway portal under Eldrad Uthran's guidance. Once back in the webway, Vulkan and his companions faced peril in Kalastar, battling demons, including the Great Unclean One, Algabor. Utilizing the Talisman of Seven Hammers, Vulkan vanquished the demon, ensuring its permanent demise. Rescued by Eldrad, who unveiled himself as the Old Man of Mount Deathfire, they journeyed to the Imperial Dungeon's sealed entrance, guided by Eldrad. Emerging before the Imperial Palace, Vulkan was greeted by a relieved Rogal Dawn, and escorted to the Emperor on the Golden Throne. The Emperor disclosed that he'd orchestrated Vulkan's journey, guiding him to craft the talisman and its true purpose. It served as a weapon of last resort, capable of obliterating terror to thwart Horus's victory. Despite his horror, Vulkan was tasked with activating it. With resolve, he installed the talisman and stood guard at the Eternity Gate. During the Siege of Terror, Vulkan maintained secrecy about his presence, known only to a select few. His next notable action occurred when Magnus the Red and his 1,000 sons infiltrated the Imperial Dungeon with the intent to assassinate the Emperor. Blocking a lethal strike aimed at the Emperor's form on the Golden Throne, Vulkan initially attempted to reason with Magnus and urged him to return to the Loyalist side. However, disheartened by Magnus's refusal, Vulkan engaged in combat to defend his father once again. In a fierce duel with Magnus, Vulkan was saved from a fatal blow by the sacrifice of Barak Zytos. Armed with his Thunder Hammer, Vulkan fought valiantly, seemingly overpowering Magnus until the latter fully succumbed to chaos and vanished from the throne room. With Magnus inside the Imperial Webway, draining the Emperor's strength through a psychic ritual, Vulkan was tasked by Malkador to confront his brother and stop the ritual. Disregarding Magnus's manipulations and visions, Vulkan ventured through the Webway to face him in the Impossible City. In their battle, Vulkan initially struggled to hit Magnus, who hid behind a psychic barrier woven into his ritual to weaken the Emperor. Vulkan broke through Magnus's defenses, prompting the Crimson King to attempt direct attacks on Vulkan to continue his work. Magnus tried various methods to kill his brother, including beheading him, suffocating him, draining his blood, and immolating him with psychic fire. However, Vulkan's perpetual nature allowed him to regenerate each time. As the battle wore on, Magnus grew desperate and tried to reason with Vulkan, but Vulkan rebuffed him, criticizing Magnus's reckless use of sorcery that enslaved him to chaos. Standing over Magnus in the Webway, Vulkan hesitated despite the Emperor's command to kill his brother. Seizing this opportunity, Magnus unleashed a spell to undo Vulkan at a genetic level. Despite crumbling apart, Vulkan managed to strike Magnus with his hammer, banishing him into the warp before collapsing. Later, Vulkan's regenerating form was observed slowly returning to the palace's Webway portal. Vulkan was instructed by his father to remain behind and guard the Golden Throne while Malkador took his place on it. If the traitors breached the palace, Vulkan was to activate the Talisman of Seven Hammers. When the traitors neared the throne room, Vulkan began to activate the talisman, but hesitated Upon hearing Acte's message broadcasting that the Emperor was still alive and fighting against Horus, convinced that victory was still possible, Vulkan backed down from activating the Doomsday weapon. He later witnessed the return of the broken body of the Emperor, brought back by Dawn, Valdor, and others, and placed upon the Golden Throne. After the heresy, it's believed that Vulkan opposed the Codex Astartes, not out of disloyalty, but due to the devastating losses suffered by the Salamanders at Istvan V. During the Great Scouring, he sought to avenge the atrocities committed by the Emperor's children and pursued Fabius Bile. Eventually, Vulkan left the Salamanders, vowing to return in the end times, reminiscent of Leman Russ's departure. In the War of the Beast, Vulkan resurfaced after 1500 years, defending Caldera against an orc invasion. Despite repeatedly dying in battle, he regenerated each time and led the defense until the world was saved. Upon returning to Terra, Vulkan took command of the Imperium's forces and led a crusade against the Beast on Ulanor, intending to confront the war boss alone. In the final battle, Vulkan sacrificed himself by detonating a power generator, seemingly destroying both himself and the Beast. Though presumed dead, the Salamanders believe Vulkan will return once they've gathered all 9 artifacts of Vulkan. They continue to search for their Primarch in the 41st millennium. Vulkan, the enigmatic Primarch of the Salamander's Legion, cast a profound influence across the vast tapestry of the galaxy. His resilience, born from his perpetual nature, became the stuff of legend, inspiring hope and determination amidst the darkest of conflicts. From the ashes of Istvan V, where his legion faced annihilation, Vulkan emerged as a symbol of perseverance and renewal, rallying not only his own warriors, but also kindling the flames of hope in the hearts of countless Imperial citizens. His return during the War of the Beast marked a pivotal moment in the Imperium's history, as he led the charge against the monstrous orc threat with unwavering resolve. Even in his sacrifice, Vulkan's legacy endures, a beacon of strength and defiance against the encroaching darkness echoing through the annals of time.